Now let's hear from the Canadian ambassador to the UK, Ralph Goodale. What message did he think the Canadian public was sending to Trump with last week's election result?
Well, it's very clear that Canadians are strongly united around our sovereignty, our independence as a nation, and the protection of our economy. All of the political parties during the election campaign, even including the more sovereignist party in Quebec, was very solidly pro-Canada when it came to standing up for ourselves, defending our sovereignty, defending our economy, defending our culture and our identity. There is just no doubt among Canadians on that point. And I, quite frankly, in 35 years of active involvement in Canadian politics, can't remember a time when Canadians have been quite so strongly cohesive around a core message, and that was reflected in the vote on Monday.
It was one of your former leaders, I think, who famously said that being Canada was like being in bed with an elephant. Do you think for the time being the elephant has been pushed back to its side of the bed?
Well, we have a very large neighbor right next to us in North America, and whenever that neighbor has a twitch, we feel it in very large measure. But I think the point is made in the election that Canadians want their government to stand its ground. That they're not in a mood to be intimidated. They will obviously be anxious to see what this next set of negotiations produces. But Canadians have said really unequivocally, our sovereignty is not for sale.
Yeah.
We're good neighbors, but we don't want to become our neighbors. We stand on our own.
And Mark Carney was very outspoken about the sort of existential threat to Canada being posed by what Donald Trump was saying. Very outspoken indeed. He now, I guess, has to sort of get on with Donald Trump. How do you see that relationship playing out?
Well, we'll see. They are both successful business people. Mr. Carney has exceptional business experience as well as governmental experience, and obviously he was also the governor of two central banks, as well as being a senior official in the Federal Department of Finance. So I think they can probably communicate in a language that they will both very clearly understand. They've had a couple of telephone conversations, and the readouts from those conversations have tended to be constructive, not in any great amount of detail yet. Obviously, that awaits the time when they're in the room together and across the table from one another. But hopefully, this will lead to something productive. Mr. Carney has been very clear that the kind of relationship that we have been used to over the last 80 years or more in terms of security and in terms of the economy, that kind of relationship is over. And now we're shaping a new relationship that will be different. He's added the point that it's a tragedy that bond has been broken. But he's made the point that Canada is not to be pushed around. We have tools to use and powers to exercise, and we will do that in the best interests of a sovereign Canada.
Well, indeed, next month in Kananaskis in Alberta, we're going to see the G7. Now, we don't know whether Donald Trump will attend that, but I assume he's very welcome to. But I was very struck. We've heard the words of Mark Carney. You were referring to them. He said in Edmonton, America's leadership of the global economy is over. And it was a tragedy. Now, if that's the case, does Canada see, as it were, a new joint leadership beginning to emerge, perhaps with Australia, perhaps with the EU alongside?
Well, Mr. Carney has been in touch with a number of his his counterparts. The obvious connections are the Five Eyes countries, the UK and Australia and New Zealand, the G7 countries that will be gathering in Kananaskis in Canada in the middle of June. Presumably, Mr. Trump will be there, but there will be also 6 other very good allies, together with the EU, that will have important things to discuss. So Mr. Carney's made the point: if the United States is going to take an isolationist kind of approach, then there will be others emerge to lead, and Canada will be very vigorously doing its part. That's one of his critical points in addressing this situation with the United States. It's partly getting the message across about how much damage this is doing to the United States itself, both in terms of its economy and its international credibility. Secondly, it's a series of retaliation measures, not willy-nilly, but carefully calibrated to have more impact in the U.S. and less impact in Canada, so that the Americans not only hear about the wrong-headedness of their position, but they actually feel the impact of that. There will be a series of measures to support Canadian business and workers to help them defend themselves. But the critical element of our approach is to build out the Canadian economy, to get rid of those internal trade barriers. Canada between provinces, to improve the regulatory system, to invest more in science, technology, and innovation, and to diversify our markets around the world, including in all of those other countries that we've just mentioned.
Well, picking up on that directly, Mr. Goodale, does that mean that Canada is going to have a stronger relationship going forward after all of this with the European countries, with UK and with the EU?
I believe so. Mr. Carney was here just quite literally hours after he had been elected leader in the UK and in France, meeting with Mr. Starmer and President Macron. They've got some important things to discuss, in which we are all serious players. One is the geopolitical situation in the world, including making sure that Ukraine is properly defended and protected for the long term into the future, and how we cope with a world economy that is in a huge state of disruption right now, and how we build the security and intelligence alliances with one another. We've got the Five Eyes, and we're going to work very hard to make the Five Eyes work, but we may need some new architecture and some new participants in that process if the role of the United States is about to change in some way. So there's a very big agenda for leaders like Carney, Starmer, Macron, von der Leyen, and others to discuss. Very important topics for the future of the world.
Absolutely fascinating. The world is changing shape in front of our eyes. High Commissioner, thank you very much indeed for talking to LBC.